What do you have in your possession that a collector would die to get their hands on? A rare picture of Sean Connery signed by Roger Moore. Moore was giving a talk at my university in 2004 and I printed out the picture. He was amused when I explained the Simpsons bit and agreed to sign it for me. 1916 Luger my grandfather brought back from WW2. Has most if not all original parts. Don't think it's actually worth much. But still collectible. I have an English textbook from early colonial America. I've never gotten it appraised. I'll probably donate it to a museum someday. I don't know about die to get their hands on, but I have a very clean copy of the first printing of Rage by Richard Bachman, Stephen King's pseudonym. About 15 years ago. I was at a half-price books bookstore. Checking out the circular wire clearance rack. When I saw a very familiar book cover. I'm a big King fan and I had seen pictures of the book but never one in person. It had a $1 clearance sticker on the cover. I checked it multiple times and it was definitely a first printing. King's early Bachman books were originally printed in pocket paperbacks and later collected in the compilation, The Bachman Books. I was really excited at what I had. So I found my wife and told her we needed to check out. I put a $5 bill in my hand and went to check out separately from her. I had it in my mind that they were going to see the book for what it was. Tell me it was mismarked and not let me buy it. My plan, which was probably pretty stupid, was that if that happened, I'd throw the $5 on the counter and run out the door with the book. After all, that's 5 times what it was marked. When I checked out, the guy looked at the book a couple of times, looked at the price tag, and then he looked at me. He said something along the lines of, "Do you know what this is?" I said I did. He said something like, "Someone is in trouble," and then rang it up for $1 in tax and took my cash. Because the story of Rage is about a school shooting. And a copy was found in a school shooter's locker years ago. King has vowed to never have it reprinted. I have a pocket watch worth about £10,000. My great-granddad was given it by a German during the Christmas Day truce in 1914. I'd never trade it or sell it for anything. I have a Monopoly get-out-of-jail-free card. Signed by Captain Kangaroo. A Blues Brothers album signed by the entire cast. On top of the obvious awesomeness like John Belushi, Carrie Fisher, James Brown and Aretha Franklin. Even people that made short cameos signed it like Pee Wee Herman and Steven Spielberg. A 1/1 Picasso piece. It's a relic card. But it's a one-off genuine Picasso. I keep it on my mantle. A 1925 Steinway Model B, 7 foot, in pristine condition. It has a deep, rich bass and slivery, expressive trebles. The entire keyboard perfectly balanced from top to bottom. An old coin from the Roman Empire. I have no idea how I got it. One day I found it in a pocket of my pajamas and that was that. Most Redditors will think I'm lying. But here, an unopened Barbie doll from 1960. I know this is lame compared to some of the answers here, but okay. I had a Hot Toys BTTF DeLorean. Now worth about $2,000 and I had to sell it when my real car, a Kia Soul, blew up with only 82k miles on it. First edition of Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Signed and sprinkled with wild turkey out of his glass. In my presence. Athens. Ga. Round about 1981. When flags on military ships get tattered, they are supposed to be disposed of properly and replaced with a flag in good condition. I have the worn Union Jack from the submarine I served on in the 1970s. It a blue flag with white stars. Mounted on the bow. Probably not super rare or expensive. Just cool. Late 1800s illustrated copy of Jules Verne's Mysterious Island. In English. Not in the original language. It would probably take a very specific collector. But I have a chewing tobacco consigned by Willie Nelson from when my grandma dated him back in the 50s. I also have one of the first ping putters from back when they only made putters. Given to me when my grandpa died. I have a very unique lily of the valley. The bell of the flower is in a triple layer formation. My grandfather developed this strain and it is nowhere else except in my garden. An 1863 Springfield rifle. My dad was a huge Civil War buff and it was the first gift my mom gave him after they were married. She gave it to me after his death. IDK about someone dying for it. But I have a first American not UK pressing of Dark Side of the Moon with the original posters and stickers intact and in pretty good condition. I got it for $5 at a yard sale. I think it's worth around $80 to $100. I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan but saw the price and figured it was an album I should have in the collection. Found all the goodies and looked it up a couple months later when I finally got around to listening to it. My grandpa has an authentic Stradivarius violin, family legend. I've only seen pictures, so according to my grandpa it's been passed down in our family since the 1700s. Refuses to sell or pass it down to any of my uncles because they have suggested selling. I have can of Prop Dharma Initiative peaches that my friend's sister stole from the set of Lost. Is that worth anything to anybody? My dad grabbed a bunch of completely intact bowls from ancient Iraq. Dated to about 2,500 years old. Saddam was bulldozing them as the artifacts disagreed with his version of history. My dad tried to give them to the Smithsonian. And the archaeologist said he had never seen anything so amazing and in such great condition. But they were technically stolen and therefore he couldn't take them. I collect coins. The rarest coin I have is a 2004 U.S. Wisconsin state quarter with the die error. High leaf. The value fluctuates but it is worth a bit. And only about 8,000 were struck before the error was caught and the remaining coins were pulled out of circulation. I have my great-grandfather's Civil War cavalry saber. In perfect condition. With the original leather harness. It's something I admired since I was a kid. And my grandma passed it down to me. And yes, he fought for the North. Which is all the more gratifying because I currently live in the South. I highly doubt it has any particular value. But I have a globe that can be dated to within a few months in 1947 due to the unique combination of factors. First thing I noticed was that it couldn't be too old as it showed a post-World War II United Germany. But there was the USSR and Czechoslovakia. And then I was baffled to see still extant British and French colonial empires. Going to Asia. I found a united independent Korea. And then an India with the British imperial color. And then in a slight different shade and a much smaller font. Was Pakistan. But with imprecise borders. I figure it has to be from 1947. In between the decision to partition India. And when the boundaries were firmly set up. Which was not a long period of time. For $4 at Goodwill. I call it an awesome find. Couldn't have been too many globes with that exact time period. Since the window was only a few months. I have some WW2 stuff which I found using a metal detector recently. A Carbiner 98 Kurz. Some bullet shells and some German medals. I have a portion of a Triceratops rib fossil. And my wife has a ring which John Quincy Adams gave to his wife. The first ever Dr. Pepper bottle signed and dated by William P. Klossner. At that time was the owner of the world's oldest Dr. Pepper bottling company. This bottle is a Desert Storm misprint. Bottled in Deblin TX. Pure cane sugar and 100th year crown. He gave it to me out of his collection. I took him a Pensacola Recessed 2-4-10 bottle. All but one of the original Star Wars figurines. My parents used to collect them and now have them in a box somewhere. Still in their original packaging. A settle, a kinda bench, storage box combo, dated 1641. The date and the initials of the maker are carved right in the front. It's in pretty good shape too. All things considered. First edition Black Lotus Magic the Gathering trading card. It is certified 9.5 on the BGS. I have a Jean-Baptiste Thouvenel violin. It's about 200 years old. Ridiculous for my level of incompetence. But I had a windfall. Got it for cheap, as far as violins go. And I wanted something I wouldn't want to upgrade as I get better. Unless I somehow get a lot better and decide I just can't live without a sell your house instrument. At least they told me it was that old. Which would be a truly ridiculous price they were selling it at. Could be one of the later ones sold under that label. Sings like a nightingale so I don't care at all. Might take it to a appraiser for a second opinion someday. But again, I don't really care about the actual name or age. Used to have a Juzik. The ones that were provided to school systems like 50 years ago. It had some other guy's name written on the back of it in Sharpie. It was one of an upgrade. Ark of the Covenant. Haven't looked inside though. Mr. Babadook, the pop-up book numbered and signed. First run.